This is this will be the sixth episode of Fly Side Chats, and today I've got Josh Miller with me, and I'll turn it over to Josh to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, I'm from Pennsylvania, live in Pittsburgh, born and raised, fishing a lot of years. I'm 32. I own my own guide service called Trout Yeah Guide Service. We fish Western Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania, from Bedford State College, and all that general area. Um, been doing it around 6 years now. Love it. Just love teaching, love sharing the information I've learned, and just passing it forward. I've coached in three world championships with the U.S. youth fly fishing team, Slovenia, Poland, and the Czech Republic. Medaled 2 times in that 3 years. Pretty awesome. Been honored to and just honored to be with those kids and
Yeah,
learn
that's
from
great.
incredible anglers. So I fished on the United States team for 4 years so far. I've
You're
competed in a
still on
few.
the you're still on the team.
Yep,
Yep. Great.
competed
Cool.
competed in a few national championships and traveled around and fished in, I don't know, a dozen or so countries. I think
Wow.
maybe more than that now. So I've been really blessed to been able to travel and fish, and so
Awesome. Awesome.
I know something or other about nymphing.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. So I first met Josh probably at International Angler is probably where I met you. If not at the Child Unlimited meeting, I know I
Maybe at a
talked to you there for
show,
the first time. Yeah,
Cabin Fever, maybe.
maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but I was lucky enough to get out with Josh. It must have been 2019. I believe we went out together, and it was kind of a the conditions weren't great, but I learned so much from fishing with Josh, and then watching him fish. We hung out and fished a little bit, and just watching someone else fish, water that I had already fished through, and then Josh come up and clean up behind me, catch tons of fish that I missed. So that was eye opening, and actually he probably doesn't know it. Josh doesn't know, but this whole thing is kind of inspired by you because one thing I'd like to do is in conversations that you have with people, you never know what you say that sends someone down a path and hopefully inspire some folks and just in the course of a conversation maybe introduce people to things that they wouldn't have thought of. So in the case of you, what happened when we were fishing, so we're kind of moving from the pools and runs and going to the next one and going through some pretty dead water, which what I would call dead water. And you said something like, I love this kind of water. I catch a ton of fish here, and I was just kind of like, really, like because up to that point didn't fish that water at all. I just it was the kind of thing I would walk past, wade through, or just walk past. That just kind of a comment that you make. You probably don't think much of it, but so that really inspired me. And the last couple years, that's the kind of water I've almost exclusively focused on. I go out on my way now to find that water on streams, stuff that I would have passed up. So I just wanted to let you know that. And when I went out with George Daniel, that's what I told him. I said, Josh mentioned this kind of water. I can't fish it, and let's focus on that. So I did that with him, and it's kind of opened up portions of stream that I just ignored. So the kind of the purpose of these chats is to just put the old year behind us and look forward to the new year. So the question that I put to folks is, looking forward to the new year, what are the kind of new things that you want to try, or maybe new places you want to go in the new year?
Well, there's always places, I can tell you that. There's always new streams I'm looking into, or so I work at a fly shop in Pittsburgh, and I always am hearing a different stream name or a different cool place someone's been. So it always kind of sparks new interest for me to explore. And as an angler, I think my success has came with fishing new places, and not just. I think there's times to just fish that same stretch of water and learn it well, but being at so many different rivers around the country and the world or wherever, you pick up so many things, and then you can kind of correlate what worked on River A at with technique A on a different time, and just so many things connect that way. I definitely. So okay, so like someone comes up to me like, how do I start to be a competitor? And I say, there's like a few things. Fish with someone better than you, and just fish more streams. Just get out and just fish. You know, like you can be the king of your own stream, but then you go from North Carolina to Pennsylvania and you get your butt whooped, or the opposite. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
more places you fish. So in answering that question, well, that was kind of a long answer, but
that's okay.
if I had to fish somewhere this year, I was really looking forward to last year going to southern Chile and fishing for some of those migratory browns. And, you know, of course, we didn't get to do that. So that might happen in the next year. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that
Um,
would be nice.
and we were going to go back to Iceland last year, and that didn't happen. And I love that. And we're fishing some fresh new rivers with some really big migratory brown trout and char. Maybe that'll happen this year, next year. And Bosnia for the world team, for the youth. That would be pretty cool. There's some spring creeks there, some really big grayling. And, but locally in the United States, Penns Creek.
Yeah,
I love Penns Creek. I love Penns Creek, but there's some rocks I haven't turned on that stream, and I'm gonna turn them all this year. That's
yeah.
we fished that a lot last year, and man, it's just awesome. The quality fish is great, and the numbers is incredible. Like,
That's interesting. Yeah, you know, living in Pittsburgh now, it's just I don't usually make it out that far. You know, it's like get to Spring Creek, and it's that extra. You know,
I
so
know
I
it's
just
far.
yeah, I just haven't done it much. And I also have to admit, I always worry about snakes. You know, I've heard about a lot of rattlesnakes in the Penns Creek area, so
Yeah.
I always it's always in the back of my mind. But when I went to state when I was going to school at Penn State, I would fish it a bit, and it was very early in my fly fishing career. I had just started fly fishing, and had not a lot of luck there when I started.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
and
tough place.
yeah, you know, so I haven't, you know, that was 20 some years ago, probably the last time I was there, you know, and so yeah, that's one I'd like to get back to as well and see like with 20 more years of experience, you know, like how do I do now, you know, because Fishing Creek was always a place that like that for me too. I never had great
Mhm.
luck at, and but then going back over the last couple of years, had a lot more luck. So
It's
yeah,
changed. Like when I start fishing competitions or even just in general fishing creek years ago, man, there's I don't know if there's just more fish there or
yeah,
what, but they're not as hard it seems like, or there's just
interesting.
in places it is, but in some places it's not too bad.
Who knows, but you know, I thought I like to think that I was getting a little better. Maybe the fish are just getting easier.
I feel like the fish get harder, man. They just get the more tight liners there are, the harder the fish get. It's like Europe, you know, everyone tight lines.
Yeah,
I was talking with someone in the shop, they're like, what percentage of fly fishermen you think are tight line? I'm like, it has to be 25%. And like in the next 3, 4 years, it's gonna be 50 or more. Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so effective. You know, I mean, I've gone to after going out with you and with George, like um, floating the cider. You know, is
yeah.
like fishing in that way and focusing because I'm focusing on that flat water and
Mm,
the edges and the slower flows.
yep.
Um, I've kind of gone to that a lot. You know, just because it works in those places as opposed to trying to do the you know the short line contact nymphing stuff, which
Yeah, yeah.
is tough in that water. You know.
It is, yeah. There's time and a place for everything.
Yeah. So are there any new like new techniques or a new kind of rigging, new lines or anything like that you're interested
Sure.
in
Yeah.
checking out this year?
There's always something, and that's what makes this cool, man. It's developing so fast with the materials that are out there now, and
Yeah.
the knowledge and the design factor, and having like legit people in these companies that help design things. You know, compared to when we started doing this stuff, like stuff that would be out there, like did an angler actually develop this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's good. That's a good thing. It's growing the sport like actually extremely fast, extremely quickly. Yeah, I'm excited to try some new techniques, fish some lighter tippet, fish some more dry flies this year, long leader dry fly fishing. Um, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like I always have thinking of that spot, like the new spots you said, like any place you want to fish. It's so funny because like Joe called me and be like, "You fishing tomorrow with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, where do you want to go?" And he's like, "What do you want to do?" You know, it's not like where do you want to go? It's like what do you want to do you want to fish flat water? Do you want to fish like numbers? Do you want to contact big fish? Like, you know, and I get like an itch. Sometimes I get an itch for a small spring creek and then an itch for like a big river, or like
Yeah.
go down Tennessee and fish like the Holston and catch just crazy numbers, or go get my butt kicked somewhere in PA on a hard spring creek. You know, that's like it's cool because we always have a different want. Joe always wants
Right.
the opposite of me too, polar opposite.
Well, yeah, and like you kind of talked about earlier, you know, the more places you fish, then you know you understand why you would want to try different techniques, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
I remember like I would get a you know a book. I had like this French nipping book, say, and I read it and I'm like, "Ah, I don't need that stuff. And then I go fishing and then I'm like, oh wait, you know, then I see where I might use it. I go
yeah,
back and I look at it again, and now all of a sudden things that kind of went over my head or that I just didn't understand why I'd want to do them, you know, now all of a sudden I can understand why. Hey, well, I understand why I'd like to try that now, you know. So I'll go back to it, and yeah, if you fish the same places over and over, yeah, you get really good at that spot,
yeah.
but yeah, you really restrict your you know your learning if that's what you're after. I mean, people are after different things, I guess. And
Sure. Yeah.
I guess I'm motivated by experimenting and trying new things. You know, would you say that's a motivating thing for you? Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those easy like, but it's strange because sometimes he can go up to that riffle water and you know, just catch, and sometimes that interests me, and then other times like, I don't, I want to catch these weird ones or the in between ones or the, in that learning that it opens the door to catching that bigger fish that you didn't even know was there. Now we're catching bigger random ones that aren't getting caught as much in those weird, like hard places to fish. The more pressure these streams are getting, those fish are sitting in that harder water. It seems like.
yeah, that makes sense. They kind of
At
get,
times they do stack in the fast, but at times I'm like, dude, there's mad fish down here. Like, why are they here? Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy because like the more we fish and the more we do it, we do see simple things work. There's like a simple technique and there's a simple leader and there's simple flies and simple weight and just a simple mindset, and it seems to work a lot of the time. And then of course, you get those curveballs, but that's what makes us want to grow and figure those curveballs out.
yeah. I know, like coming from, you know, I did regular fly fishing for many years, and then like in 2009 started doing Tenkara, which was really eye opening as far as simplifying. You know, it just made me strip back what I was doing, you know, and made me simplify and for just less decisions, you know, and I could focus
Yeah.
on fishing instead
Yes.
of worrying about a lot of other stuff, you know. And I know that like my success rate really skyrocketed with when I did that, when I cut out all the decisions, you know, a lot of the decisions and went, like you say, to simple thing. And I think with um, you know, in the fly fishing world, a lot of guys are anti Tenkara or whatever, and that's fine. But I really see with the competition style, the European nymphing, and that I see that a lot of similarities with that focus on technique, or you
Yeah,
know,
of
rather
course.
than
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
gear. And that's what's it's cool to hear you say that, you know, the keeping it simple, you know, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of folks, especially if they're new, they you can read if you start reading books and reading magazines, you get so overwhelmed with like I'll never know all this stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
and you don't need to. My motto going into this year on my projects upcoming and just my guiding and just my fishing in general, it's literally keep it simple.
Yeah,
Don't overthink
yeah,
it. Just you go back to the basic. Don't we're reading so much. People are putting too much thought into maybe something that it's just you're just overthinking things. Like maybe the leaders too. You don't need to think that much. Just like just put the fly in front of a fish, man. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's literally that easy.
but so I really appreciate you being on today, and usually I sign off and I let you know the guest have any last comments or anything that you want to say before we sign off.
I say thanks. Keep researching, keep fishing, and one thing:
Okay.
the best teacher is catching fish.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the best teacher.
or not
YouTube
catching
and
fish.
stuff, yeah, that's true. YouTube and stuff's good, but sometimes take that stuff for a grain of salt. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah, yeah.
go catch fish.